Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Joining me for this special broadcast, I have FOL Political Bulldog, the guy who eats, sleep, and drink politics, Mr. Anthony Sear. Mr. Sear, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you. And let us do this.
Today, we are in conversation with leaders of the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia, that's Prosa, and we have their leaders right here in studio. We will be having a candid conversation on this weekend concerning Prosa. What are their activities, the mission, the vision, and what are some of the things as a student political movement they care about, and their latest protest for free tuition. We are joined by the Prosa leaders in Monrovia. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, and we must appreciate the Focus on Liberia family for the opportunity. And we hope that moving forward in the conversation that we will go smooth as we go along with the discourse and the interaction. And so, firstly, let me bring you warm and heartfelt Pan-Africanist greetings from the sacred office of the man who presides over the tripartite sections, crop sections, and joint sections of Africa's fastest growing neo-progressive mass-based student movement. That is the indomitable revolutionary avant-garde progressive alliance of the University of Liberia. So, the name is Justin W. Jalaba Jr. I'm the co-chair on the intellectual discourse committee of the Revolutionary Avant-Garde Progressive Alliance of the University of Liberia, a student reading economics major minoring management at the state-run university, precisely the University of Liberia. So it's a pleasure.
Well, thank you. I want to say thank you for putting us this opportunity to be on your platform. We are grateful. And also want to recognize our chairman of two salutations, the most powerful men on the campuses of the University of Liberia. I will have introduction. I'm Jennifer J. I am the chairperson of the Women Presidium of the Avant-Garde Progressive Student Alliance of the State University, and I'm reading biomedical sciences at the State University. Thank you.
Well, thank you once more, and the name remains constant. So, hello, Debbie Mark, the chairperson of the Avant-Garde Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. And permits me also to bring you greetings from the tripartite sections of our institution and the collective courage of all of the militants and cadres on whose shoulder rests the struggle for total emancipation on the campuses of the University of Liberia. So it's a pleasure having this conversation, and we hope it gets firing, it gets inspiring as we progress in the discourse.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you so much for coming. I must tell you that I too attended the University of Liberia, but I did not finish. I probably didn't even get up to sophomore. So really, when I see you, from the university, I really wish I would finish. I told somebody one day that one day I'll go back to the university and get my undergraduate degree, because I still want to do that. I still want to be able to go through there and get a degree, even if it is a ceremonial one, because I feel that I should do that, so as to get that inner satisfaction. But we are glad to have you, and thank you so much for coming. Mr. Sear, let's get this rolling.
Thank you, Dennis. And we cannot express how happy we are that you have agreed to sit with Focus on Liberia to talk about the issues that concern you as students and citizens of the Republic of Liberia, most so student at you always say the campuses of the University of Liberia. We want to say welcome, and you always say comrade ideologues, and that's the one I admire most. So comrades, it's good to be here. We can't welcome you enough. Let's start like this. Thank you for the brief introduction of yourself, by the way. So let's start with Prosa. The acronym Prosa. Please state for us, for those who have not heard that before, what does it stand for?
All right. before giving you the clear definition of Prosa, I think it's important that we give you the historic setting of our institution.
Mhm.
And so, but then we formulated ourselves under the banner of the Kenya Student Association, which was termed as PENSA. And then our primary objective was to engage into advocacy. And then fast forward, we try to engage the authority of the university to ensure that we can achieve what we refer to as legitimacy.
Mhm.
But then there was a bottleneck towards the process because the administration told us that the name FENSA was restrictive in terms of jurisdiction.
Mhm.
So that is, the debate was only surrounding the Fender campus. And so we had to retreat and then carve a different name with different political ideology that we now refer to as Prosa. And so for definition purpose is what we refer to as the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia, Prosa.
Thank you. Then my follow-up question would be, when was Prosa founded? When and how long has it been in existence now?
Thank you very much. And in addition to what the chairman brilliantly analyzed, you see, Prosa as a neo-progressive campus-based institution,
Mhm.
got established on September 25th, 2015, precisely at the University of Liberia. But you see, in society, there will always be an emergence of neo-progressive revolutionary movement. Insofar that as society advances, there will always be contradictions. And what we understand, what we have come to know is the fact that contradictions are raw materials for the revolution. So whenever there are contradictions in the state, it is always important. It is a tax resting on the shoulders of people who have young people, student radicals who have read history to understand the contradiction and try to interpret the contradiction. So precisely 2015, during the regime of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, when the regime decided, in collaboration with the administration of the University of Liberia, decided to increase tuition on the already struggling, poverty-stricken student masses at the University of Liberia. That was the time we said this particular decision is wrong. This particular decision is diabolical. This particular decision is against the interest. It's against the overwhelming interest of the students, the thousands of students of the University of Liberia, because we could see the expression or the countenance on the faces of the students of the university at the time. They needed an institution. They needed a group of students who were going to be fearless enough to stand before the system and defy that particular decision that were against the student interest. So that was the time after we realized, because as you may be aware, there were three existing political parties on campus prior to our existence. So we realized that there was a silence, a continuous silence by the three institutions on campus to come in defense of the defenseless students. For the fact that they were a campus-based institution and the students were looking up to them as student leaders to champion the call, to call on the authority to say, you cannot do this on our generation. You cannot increase tuition on a generation that is plunged into destitution. So we realized that they were quiet on this particular situation. So there where it became a compelling responsibility.
Thank you.
Resting on the shoulders of young student radicals who have understood that in society, whenever a system decides to take a decision that is against the interests of the ordinary people, that it is important that you come in defense. Young student radicals who are convinced about the suffering in society to come in defense of the ordinary people. So we took charge, we took advantage of the situation and we rally ourselves under the famous student association. So back then, when they recognized campus-based political institutions, were just a movement on campus, a pressure group. So we rally ourselves under the famous student association, calling on the administration, defying that particular decision. And moving forward as an institution, the administration, because of the engagement of the famous student association, the decency that we presented to the discourses, the administration thought it necessary. And because of the membership base of our institution, they thought it necessary that there was a need to create, presented all of the requirements or the criteria set to be a campus-based political institution. So we followed the criteria, we followed the requirements, and we were able to produce or provide everything that was asked by the administration. So there where we came with the name, the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia, because back then it was just a famous student association. Because majority of the students, the young student radicals who were resisting academic tyranny at that particular time when the administration attempted to increase tuition, majority of the students were from French campus.
Thank you.
So we had a name, the French Student Association. So when we got established, when we got recognized as a campus-based political institution, we said the university has 4 campuses. So the name, the nomenclature that we are going to get, or we are going to arrive at, should be a nomenclature or a name that will incorporate every student of the university. So there where we came with the name, there where we came with the nomenclature, the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. And the philosophy of this institution believes in a very unique philosophy. And before I explain the philosophy of this institution, let me say, prior to our existence, the 3 political parties, the campus-based political parties on the campuses of the university, you had the oldest campus-based institution, that is the Student Unification Party. They say they believe in massocracy. That's their philosophy.
Yeah, and we'll get to that, Joe. We'll get to that.
They believe in integration.
We'll get to that.
And moving forward to the Student Democratic Alliance, they say they believe in historical gradualism. So we took our time to do a revolutionary or a revolutionary survey of 3 philosophies. And we look at massocracy. We say the massocracy was applicable during the 60s, during the 70s, during the time of the moribund Chubut party, the oligarchy of the Chubut party, the time the masses of our people were being ostracized from the social, economic, political paradigm of the state. But the society has advanced to the point, to the level where there should be an inclusion of everybody, regardless of which side of the divide you find yourself. And we look at the student integration movement. They said they believe in integration. So we look at their philosophy and say that you cannot say that you believe in integration, yes. But for the fact that your institution, for the fact that on campus, you have not been fully integrated in the system. You have not been allowed to speak on certain issues. For the fact that you have been denied the right to even vote on the campuses of the university, we think that integration was necessary, but it was not holistic. It was not enough. So we look at Suda. They said they believe in historical gradualism. And historical gradualism is a philosophy that postulates, it says that there will come a time that historical circumstances will produce desired results. So people should wait for that particular time for the transformation and that particular result. So we said to them, no. For all our reading about history, we all through in history and historical circumstances, we inform you that there is absolutely no way.
Thank you, Joe.
No system.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
No system that is bent on keeping people in suppression. No system that is tyrannical. No system that is undermined to change that will ever give you your freedom unless you demand your freedom. So the issue of historical gradualism, the issue of just sitting and waiting to have that result, you have to. The like we have said, the Sheikh Ubira, the Argentine dictator who existed Fidel Castro in the Cuban Revolution against Fulgencio Batista, would say, he said the revolution is not like an apple that falls from the tree. It's not like a plum that you wait for the plum to get ripe, then it falls. As young student radicals and revolutionaries, you have to go for it and make it, you have to make it right. For the fact that the contradictions are existing, you have to sharpen the contradictions and you have to produce the contradiction into raw material. And those raw materials become the fruit of the revolution. So there were the revolutionary avant-garde progressive student alliance of the University of Advocacy. And we came in with a philosophy that is very unique. And we think that this philosophy is the mother philosophy of all the philosophies on the campuses of the university. Very attractive.
Thank you.
And we believe in egalitarianism. This is a philosophy that is entrenched, that is ingrained in African socialism, is ingrained in Marxism. This is a philosophy that talks about the equitable distribution of the resources of the state. This is a philosophy that talks about political equality, talks about social equality, talks about economic equality. So this philosophy is a very, very unique philosophy. This philosophy pushes for an open society. That creates.
All right.
So a philosophy that creates the opportunity.
Can you hear us?
The opportunity where everybody will have a space.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I don't know.
Are you hearing us? Not really.
No, they're not hearing us, Dennis, and that's why we're speaking all along.
So let's fix that. Let's take a short break and fix that, and we'll be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. This is a discussion with the leaders of the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. They will be back with us shortly, and we are engaging them on their activities, the purpose, and the recent protest calling for free tuition. We have the folks back in studio, and we want to go back to them. Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
So you can hear us now?
Yeah.
All right. So in summary, tell us why was Prosa established, even though you have three other parties? What is the belief? I know Prosa was established out of the need of canvassing or advocating for the tuition not to be hiked. But since then, what will you say is the mission, is the purpose why Prosa exists today?
Yeah, so I was giving you the historical itinerary of the institution. And
yeah, we got that.
So like the institution got established fundamentally for the reason of coming in defense of the ordinary student of the university. Because when the administration decided to increase tuition, what the administration succeeded in doing at the time, They colluded with the campus-based political institutions that were existing at the time. They colluded with them, they dished out fiat, they dollarized the process, gave them money, and the student leaders at the time refused to speak on this particular issue. And the students, they needed people, they needed that genuine, that conscious voice. They needed people who will come in their defense to make that particular policy.
My question now is, since that is no longer an issue, why is Prosa still existing? Because that issue, you no longer have increased in tuition, right? So that issue has been resolved. So why do Prosa still exist as a campus-based political party?
No, but like I said to you, as society advances, and for the fact that there are contradictions in society, it will always give rise or give birth to neo-progressive institutions. If you look in South Africa today, and take a look at EFF, the newly established political party in South Africa, there is just a clear case scenario. The EFF in South Africa today, the ANC, have been in South Africa since 1912, vibrating the system of tyranny, vibrating the system, the apartheid system in South Africa. After the struggle of Mandela, after the struggle of Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Robert Siboku, and all the progressive forces in South Africa, even Julius Malema, who is today the commander-in-chief of the Economic Freedom Fighter, he was a member of the youth league of the ANC. But after the struggle of the ANC, after they were governed that, after they achieved the non-racial democracy that they fought for, Julius Malema and the guys from the EFF, they believe that, yes, today the blacks are being given the opportunity. They have that political space, they have the participation. But for the fact that the land of the blacks people, the land in South Africa continue to be in the hands of the white, there is a need for our existence. So it became the fundamental reason for the existence or the establishment of EFF. So revolutionary institutions will always be established from the fact that there have been contradictions, from the fact that there have been issues. So for the fact that at the time when those three political institutions on campus refused to speak to the issues of the students, when the administration decided to increase tuition on the generations of the students at the time, there were the Gender Student Association came in and championed the cause of the students. And moving beyond that particular stage, the Gender Student Association remained a robust institution on campus, vibrating the pillars of the university, calling on the system to ensure that there is an inclusion of a conducive learning environment on the campuses of the university.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to enjoy the debate, and the brother beautifully narrated the historicity of our institution and giving you reasons why we're still in existence today. But you see, the University of Liberia, time immemorial, has been an area or the reservoir of major contradictions, for which every time when you resolve an issue, there will come another issue that has to be debated from the student perspective and student angle. So for the fact that we're established on the basis of contradictions, and those contradictions were resolved, it does not in any way implies that the institution will go to bed. For the fact that there will always be existing contradictions, there will always be institutions like Prosa, and the men with broad courage and commitment will unveil themselves to the current reality and show that they expose themselves to those issues and have them redressed. So I want to say to you that currently on the campus, there are issues with buses. As we speak to you on the campus, there are issues with bathroom. As we speak to you on the campus, there are issues that have to do with internet facility. So you do not expect us to say for the fact that the increment tuition on the university campus will deal with from the party angle, so the party should go to bed. No. In as much as those issues continue to permeate the corridors of the University of Liberia, men with raw commitment and courage and political enlightenment will show that they rise up to the occasion in defense of the defenseless students of the University of Liberia. So in followers, we also want to say to you that the militants and casual of this party have never retreated into cowardice. And this is why even in the midst of contradictions, in the midst of defaming our high-end revolutionary moral credentials, we remain firm to show that this particular debate that is currently resonating on the national stage, especially with the youth and student committee that has to do with the free tuition, policy remains an uncompromising debate that have been emulated from the angle and the better wake of the avant-garde progressive student alliance of the University of Liberia. So in as much as there are contradictions, we want to say to you that the last find of this political party remains in eternity, and that there will be no compromise, and that this institution is here to stay perpetually.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let me come to you, comrade sister. I listened to the other two leaders spoke extensively on the reasons that you exist and today, and that you will continue till that kingdom come, if I can put it in my words. But what I also come to know is, in addition to you, there have been other student-based political parties basically doing the same thing. You pretty much sing the same songs. You advocate for the same things. If you were to cease to exist today, comrade sister, what is that one thing, what level of advocacy will be that would disappear in the body politics of student politics on the University of Liberia, or at the University of Liberia?
She said you got to reiterate.
So I'm saying, should Prosa cease to exist, to exist today, if you should disappear from the scene today, the fact that there are other political parties or student-based political parties, if you should disappear, what is it that the student body will be missing?
Well, thank you. You see, the Avant-Garde Progressive Student Alliance, our primary interest is to advocate on behalf of the students of the University of Liberia. And what is it that most political party is lacking is that the genuine advocacy. Some of them come with fake advocacy, fake preachings. But the Avant-Garde Party, we are genuine when it comes to our advocacy. Our advocacy are student related. Whatever things that are affecting the students on the campus, they're where we come in.
And let's take, for example, SOUP. You know very well that SOUP has been in this thing from as far back as the 70s, from what I know. And they exist today. And you are saying that they are not genuine, they are not loud enough, they are not tactical enough, they are not robust enough, and you are. So what points to your robustness compared to SOUP and other political parties for which, you think you're doing it differently?
Oh, yeah, thank you for the fact that our main interest is the student, and our focus point is to advocate on behalf of the student. If, for example, there are big or two voice on the campus, there will be issues. For example, the main interest of Prosa being funded was on the basis when students feel betrayed, when students feel neglected on the issue of the free tuition. So at that time, when SOUP, who was a political party, advocating on behalf of the students, there will come a foundation when Prosa now is in, because when the administration at that time decided to increase tuition fees for most of the part they wanted to $4 US, students were betrayed. SOUP at that time, they don't give in defense of the student myself. An ordinary student, conscious student, rather themselves into history, because as a revolutionary, we believe that the contradictions are raw material to every revolution. And therefore, we as on the angle of the Avant-Garde Party, we believe that insofar that we are funding on the basis of advocacy for the students, insofar there are so many challenges, contradictions that are affecting the students of the University of Liberia, we will not remain silent. We'll speak to issues and we'll erect the necessary points that need to be erected.
And finally, to you, comrade sister.
And so to just to buttress her, and she laid the foundation brilliantly. But just to buttress her, you see, like one of the brothers will say to you, right, that the SOUP that you knew on the campuses of the University of Liberia, the SOUP of the 70s, the SOUP of the 80s, want to say to you that SOUP has been compromised. And this is why today, when you see SOUP having her protestation, you always see her, aligning with opposition political parties. Like you see, the SOUP of the 70s is not the SOUP today. Few years back, you saw the then chairman of the Student Education Party having conversation with the late lawmaker Harold Lawrence on the basis of what no one knows. But at the end of the day, we had a tragic accident for which they got involved into. But what I want to say to you is that the fundamental establishment of any revolutionary political institution on the campus of the University of Liberia, the sole purpose should be fundamentally in the interest of the student community. Because that is why you find yourself in that bracket, you find yourself in that environment, in that space as a student leader.
But
speak on behalf of
Mr. Chairman, hold on, Mr. Anthony.
You don't live in a void.
Mr. Anthony, hold on. He said something I want him to just, for clarity. You were establishing a link between the, you said, the late Adolph Lawrence and SOUP leaders. They were talking, and then there's a motor accident. I want you to just be clear on that, so I understand exactly what you are saying.
No, it's just to give you the pattern, like the sister was saying to you, that SOUP was on campus when the tuition and fees was increased from 175 Liberty to $4. They had to take the courage and commitment and resilience, the tenacity and fortitude of militants of the avant-garde party to come in defense of the defenseless students, for which today there have been a declaration of free tuition, and we are struggling to ensure that it can be enacted into law. That's one. Two, we sat on the campus over there when the student invited the likes of Henry Fox out on campus.
Just clarify.
We sat on the campus when the student invitation invited the likes of Bill Jones on campus. So what we are saying to you, Industrial, is that you have to be objective in terms of your student advocacy. If you want to play the role of a national political party, then you get established as a national political party. But even the students on campus have realized that the SOUP that was on campus, even in high school, most of the students that dream of entering SOUP, when they enter the university campus, they realize that the SOUP that they built, that SOUP now is a writing institution. That SOUP now has into its membership people that are squared operating, under the umbrella of national political actors. And this is why we frown on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted you to speak clearly about Adolph Lawrence, the accident, and SOUP. That's the clarity I wanted. But
come again, bring it in.
No, I said I just wanted you to speak clearly about. You mentioned the late Adolph Lawrence, you mentioned the accident, and you mentioned SOUP. So I just wanted you to be clear on that.
Yeah, but as I was saying to you, you were here and you witnessed. I mean, what we call, there was a conversation, and SOUP was staged. No matter when SOUP is staging a protest, she always have this solidarity, always have this support from people that are wanting to take step power. And so, it's like you interact with the devil in the night, and then come to the day and say you are a Christian, or you thank God, thank you for saving your life. No. So in as much as you can interact with people like Adolph Lawrence, or interact with national state actors, and then you come in the midst of the university students and start to condemn these people, that is being hypocritical. That is clear hypocrisy. Okay. That is clear hypocrisy. In as much as you can interact with them, you do not have that moral rectitude. You are morally bankrupt. And you must vacate the political stage and allow people that have absolute authority and understanding in student engagement, in student advocacy, to come and take charge of student politics on the campuses of the University of Liberia. That is where our argument is.
And may I follow up here? You are accusing members of SOUP of talking to political actors in the night and then show face in the day as angels. And I want to say, you don't live in a void. You don't live in a vacuum. The issues that confront you at the University of Liberia and also on the national level, you have to talk to the national leaders. So for SOUP talking to them, you are questioning that.
No, it's not just about.
Let me let my question.
Let me point to it. It is not just to have a conversation. But if they are as a student leader,
may I let my
question? That is clear. That is clear. But if you are engaging state actors, it could not be in the absence of the university students. No, you cannot engage state actors in the night. You cannot, camouflage yourself to go and meet state actors in the name of.
I did not learn with my question. I don't know if you are hearing me. I did not learn with my
you are coming to start yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying I did not learn my question. My question is, how are you going to engage leaders who now have the authority to bring about the issues that you are advocating for? It is national government responsibility to provide all of the things that you need on the campuses of the University of Liberia. are you going to advocate without talking to them? Because Sue might be thinking, hey, we're talking to these people so that these things that we have can be addressed. And you are saying they are talking to the bad guys. How will you do your advocacy to get the things that you need without talking with them or to them?
Okay, so basically to just add to what the chairman brilliantly presented to you. And you see the issue of people or student leaders going into negotiation with politicians. It's not about not recognizing the fact that the only way to get certain things done is to enter our politicians. No, that's not our point. And you ask a very salient question. If Prosa ceases to exist, what will happen to campus politics? And let me say to you here, it will be one of the greatest things, one of the greatest mistakes, one of the greatest disappointments in the history of the student politics on the campuses of the university. For the fact that the moment you sat down on campus, an institution has said that they fought for multi-party democracy, you fought for academic freedom. You sat down on campus and allowed the administration to successfully increase tuition. That was the day they lost historical opportunity. There came the emergence of a neo-progressive and rivalry institution. So let me say to you, there's one thing that will be absent from the university, and it remains genuine advocacy. An attempt for Prosa to cease to exist, I can assure you that the issue of genuine, robust student advocacy will leave that university. And let me speak to the issue of pretense and maximum political sycophancy. People, we are not that concerned about having interaction with politicians. There are ways that you can channel your grievances to the state and to state actors, but not to allow yourself to go into negotiation for sentimental purposes, to allow yourself to be used by politicians. Politicians cannot dish out cash on student leaders, infiltrate the student movement, and allow the students to instigate chaos in the state. That is wrong. There where we have come to erect the conscious spirit and say, this is not in line. This is not in line with the fundamental reason for which the institution was established. Because if you look at
thank you.
And may I follow up there? You are saying the other political parties on campus, student in particular, is aligned with some political actors for some unknown reasons that you have to that you question. Do you have any alignment? Question number one. The other part to it is, you are student-based political parties. Do you even see the need to collaborate? For example, if you're having a protest, because your issues are the same, conditions on the campus of the university, or internet, you name it all, the issues are the same. You're all advocating for the same thing. Is there a need? Do you see a need at some point to collaborate? So, for example, in a protest action, or will you act individually because you think they are not robust enough?
Yeah, it's important to collaborate. It's the fact that an institution or institutions that are on record for compromising the interests of the student, whenever you are doing business or you are going into any collaboration with people of sort, people whose hands are still with corruption, you should be very careful on how you collaborate, because these are people who are very good at backing off from serious issues that confront the student in the dying minutes and at 11 hours. So you got to be very careful on how you collaborate with people, or else your integrity or else your relevance, the relevance of your institution might be dragged in the mud. And we don't want that. We don't want that.
He's talking about collaborating with fellow political parties on campus. Will you be able to collaborate?
I'm discussing political parties on campus. Okay. Political parties on campus sat down and allowed the administration to take money from the administration, allow the administration to increase tuition on our generation. This generation that is living in entrenched and absolute poverty, you took money from the administration and allowed the administration to increase tuition on our generation. So we say those institutions that allow the increment in tuition and fee prior to our existence, they are stained with the issue of compromise. And on the basis of that,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because the issue of this tuition increase is very paramount to the establishment of Prosa. Did you find out why was this increment did you do any analysis to see why the university was increasing tuition? And do you also check with SUP and other political student-based parties to see what was their reasoning? And you are saying allow. What power did they have to prevent that? What was the purpose of the increase? And why do you think that other political parties allow it?
Well, CEO, you see, for us, we do not, we are student leaders. And the issue that has to do with, going to do background analysis or background investigation, what basis school fee was increased, it is not our role to play. The only interest that we have is that the right thing should be done. And what we consider to be the right thing in our own student understanding is the fact that any decision that the university comes up with must be in the interest of the generality of the university students. So any decision, any act
your brother here
that will try to depopulate the University of Liberia, we consider that act to be coming from the rusty and nasty bed of the devil. It is predicated upon that we think that in as much as SUP does consider herself to be the vibrant modern institution on campus, she sat and allowed that increment to take place. We think, it is not necessary. It was predicated upon that we were given birth to. So we are not the ones to say to you that, the economy is difficult in the midst of struggling, of strangulation. Where the lawmakers are carrying 30 cases, they are standing for 30 cases. As we speak, there's a bill now that the lawmakers are fixing their signature to, that at the point of retirement, they should benefit 50% of their salary. We think that bill is not only nefarious, but it does not represent the collective, interest of the republic. It doesn't. So in as much as they can find other means to get resources and further fatten their pockets, we think it's important that they can irrigate those resources to the covers of the University of Liberia to allow struggling university students. Because if you look, the University of Liberia is 80% being funded by the state, and that is why underprivileged 99.9% of those that attend the University of Liberia represent the slums and ghettos and the dejected communities of this country. And this is why we always stay in defense of the students. And when policy makers are making policy, it must be reflective of those that they are representing. Or anything contrary to that,
can you hear us?
Yeah, come again.
So then I was asking a question that I want to reinforce here because it's key. This is the most singular reason Prosa was funded: increment in tuition. And your answer to it was, you don't need to do a research, do an analysis to find out the reasons that led to the increment in the tuition.
Exactly.
And I found that to be profound because you needed to understand how they arrived at the decision so that you can effectively be able to resist it. But you said because senators and representatives are making several thousands of dollars. Profound. What's your response to that?
Before you come in, you studied economics, the chairman of the intellectual discourse, and you know about inflation. You know that things go out when conditions. So there may be factors that precipitate the increment, right? So without finding out and then seeing other reason or how it needs to be done, because if you actually find out, you can also not just resist, but present a proposal as to how this can be accomplished instead of just a blanket no. What's your answer?
Let me say yeah to you. And the reason behind the administration taking that particular decision, like the chairman said to you, the act that established the University of Liberia, it is spelled out and it is very clear in the act. They said the government of Liberia takes 80% responsibility for students enrollment at the university in terms of funding. The 10% comes from international partners, local partners. The remaining 10% is the responsibility of the students of the university. The reason why the administration at the time, under the leadership of Eli Johnson, decided to do that, that was a reintroduction of what we call a neo-colonial model, a neo-colonial educational model. It was an attempt to pour thousands of destitute students who hail from Doe community in Western our school. It was an attempt. It was a clever attempt. that was being hijacked by what is today the Revolutionary Avant-Garde Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. So we care less about what you talk about. No, this was not about issues that precipitated. There was absolutely no issue. There was no genuine reason, there was no sensible reason why the administration took the decision. Why the administration took the particular decision. It was an attempt. And we hijacked that particular attempt. We came in defense of the defenseless students, and we informed the administration. We said, take responsibility, go to national government, take responsibility of the 80%. Let your international partner give you the 10%. The student will take responsibility for that 10%. So that was the quest of the Revolutionary Avant-Garde Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. And it remains our struggle, it remains our quest. And we are not willing to renege on that.
And CEO, let me say to you, there was no reason to have done further study. When those who were then serving student leadership, by the time the increment took place, and later they saw about 5 student leaders, in the great United States of America. That alone unveils the fact that the struggle was compromised, and these people saw the interest of the students of the University of Liberia. It was predicated upon that we got, into the formative stage of this revolution. So, in as much as those who should be the first line of defense cannot be seen automatically, what implies is the fact that the struggle has been compromised. So you do not need a rocket scientist to give you that political analogy. All you need to do is to stand in defense and rise up the location.
Thank you. I come to the Congress sister here.
Yeah. Hold on, as you mentioned about the students that came to the United States. They came to Georgia right here, and I met them. Okay, that was student Patrick Soa and other student. I remember that time you were talking about, and they were on I don't want to say student exchange, and that was facilitated by our office here, the consulate general office here, and other people helped to make that happen. So I don't know how you came to the conclusion that represents.
No, but it's not. We are not talking about the era of Patrick Swag. I think you follow the likes of Daniel Watts. I think you follow people you see.
All right.
We entered the university where other student leaders left the stage. When they left the stage, so we're not going to interact Patrick Swag. No. We're not going to dive in. Patrick Swag is far from this particular conversation. But what we want to say to you here in a nutshell is the fact that student leaders that we know that are quote unquote in the interest of first line of defense for the youth and student community, when they can be no more, when they cannot be seen when the student need them most, when they cannot be felt when the student need them most, and then later they get to realize, start to see them posting and start to see them eating shawarma. Then what comes to your mind? It tells you that the interests of the students have been dashed and the struggle have been compromised.
Thank you. My question to all of you here is, what are the issues confronting students of the University of Liberia, and how does Prosa go about to resolve those issues? What is the approach? First, let's talk about those issues that are confronting the students, and what is Prosa doing? What approach Prosa is taking to resolve those kind of issues generally?
Let's start with the Congress sister, please.
Well, thank you. There are so many issues that students of the university are faced with. Some of the issue is the inadequate issue of the buses. The buses, there are few buses that the university provided for the students to commute on campus. Most often, the students fall for buses on the campus. There are shortage of buses. Students most of the time fall for buses. And another issue has to do with the renovation process. The issue of the deplorable buildings on the campuses. The issue of females using the bushes to urinate. There are so many challenges we are faced with as a student on the campus of the university. And the issue of the e-learning, sometimes students are faced with the issue of accessing aggressions, the issue of planning where you use the internet. Students are not informed to, students are not informed to how to access that e-learning page. And another thing is that most often the students on the campus, sometimes to compare those cows. How can a university allow cows to be on the campus? we see that as some of the challenges that we are faced with, and also the issue of the leadership aspect on the campus. All the years, students are not given the opportunity to vote for their leaders. Insofar that we don't have leadership on the campus, there are so many things that when students are faced with, most often the administration don't hear the cry of the students, because since 2012, the university as the micro-sponsor of the larger society and have not gone into election. Insofar that we say we are the micro-sponsor of the larger society, everything that is practiced on the national scene is also practiced on the University of Liberia. Insofar that we can contest in our community as chairman, as representative, and other things voting in our community on the national scene, we are not practicing it on the university campus. So these are challenges that we are faced with as students. And the issue of the free tuition process, you see the free tuition and policy, it came about when the university again decided to increase tuition fees from $4 US to $6 US. Insofar that the students who are from the slums and ghetto, the trenches of the society, will not afford tuition fees, will not afford to pay their school fees. Yet instead, the university decided to increase the total guardian men, women, conscious radicals to step in themselves into history on October 19, chanting the revolutionary slogan at the foreign affairs that fish you for. These are some of the issues that we are faced with. So you see,
how do you think those issues that you have just enumerated, how do you think they can be addressed? What is the necessary steps that you can take for those issues to be resolved? What do you think the solutions are?
Well, you see, we from the angle of the African Party, we believe there are two approaches to resolving issues. We have the dialogue aspect. We have to do that. The African Party, the leadership of the African Party will go into a dialogue with the administration and things that are confronting students. And also, we have the radical approach. Insofar that when we champion the interests of the ordinary students and the administration, give us that ear there where we use our radical approach.
And what is that radical approach?
The radical approach is the protestation, or peaceful protestation, because we are students of Muhammad Gandhi. In one of his quotes, he said, "I teach you no violence, but never in your life bow down to injustices, even at the point of your death." So these are things that we recognize is a cardinal point to our revolutionary teaching, because we're talking our cultural classes that we are not violent, but never in our lives will bow down to injustices, even at the point of our death.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. C.
Thank you. Comrade Chairman, let us talk more on the issues. I know she did excellently well in enumerating the issues that confront you. And she said, hey, dialogue, and if dialogue doesn't work, protestation. So let's talk about the protestation a little more. Guys, Suba is protesting, you are protesting. Has protest solved any of the problems you had or you've been having?
Well, thank you again, CEO. And you know, as university students, our skin is very sensitive to injustices. And this is why we will never remain tablet whenever there are issues confronting the student community. Even when we are being dehumanized, even when there will be mischaracterization of our personality and characters, we take into consideration the fact that we are men enough to accept the consequences that are associated with our actions. And this is why we remain uncompromising. This is why we remain unapologetic. And so the female was very emphatic when she said to you that there are two ways from the angle of our party that we engage issues. And this is why most often you do not follow. The only time the media comes out is when there are students on the street. When students are writing communications to the institutions that are involved, I mean, it does not mean the consent of the media. When students are having dialogue, conversation with authorities, I mean, it does not mean the consent of the media. But the media only comes out when you see students, rioting. But you see, for us, we are very civilized because we are from decent homes and we represent the collective interest of the university students. And this is why, even in the midst of our little, protestation that we carry out, is always, done under the banner and canopy of civil disobedience, like the sister said, from the teachings and doctrines of Mahatma Gandhi. We are students that believe in a non-violent posture. But again, whenever history gave us obligation and responsibility, we do not fall short. We wouldn't accept those responsibilities and live by the consequences. And so, of course, the issue that has to do with protestation have given us much result. And this is why even this declaration today that we are pushing to be enacted in the law did not come simply because the president sat down home and dreamed of it. It came because men and women, when the University of Liberia thought again to increase tuition from $4 to $6, that was when we had to rally the forces, the university students at the foreign affairs. But then we had the opportunity to have interacted with the then press secretary of the president, Sam Manning, in line with Munapena, who ushered us in the president's office, and we had a tete-a-tete. In the midst of the university students. In fact, in that meeting, we talked about 12 students who are not student leaders, but they only joined because, that decision was only to send student leaders home, not only student leaders, but it was to say to students that in as much as you cannot afford $6 as tuition fee, that means you go and sit and wait for the following semester. Or that means automatically you consider yourself to become a university degenerate. And we was predicated upon that we had a meeting with the president. We told him there was no need for increment or for further increment. Predicated upon that, the president visited the University of Liberia and carried on this quote-unquote, free tuition declaration, for which today we think it is not limited to, this government. It should not be limited. That this particular program should be enacted into law. That it should be enacted into law. So when you talk about whether protestation have you any result, I want to say to you, for the fact that that particular result was given birth to, in as much as we galvanize in our mass at the grounds of the foreign affairs, I want to say to you, yes, indeed, protestation, is one of the democratic tenets. So it was not always being saying that when you are protesting, then you are violent. No, protestation is one of the democratic tenets. And as much as the country is practicing democracy, they should be able to accept and appreciate any form of engagement that will give us the necessary attention that we demand.
Thank you. As you talk about these non-violent people and the protests, I don't hear you talking about Albert Port or Diotue, and you're talking Gandhi, but that's another story. We're going to talk about militancy. Almost we see that everywhere. The chanting, the singing, the militancy. If I watch Soup, I see the same thing. Prosa, the same thing. CDC, COP, I see the same thing. ANC Youth Wing, I see the same chanting, I see the same. So let's play a little clip on chanting here and militancy, and then we ask you a few questions. Let's take a listen.
Whoa. No matter what, you 50% of salary when you're not long because again, whoa. Whoa. 30 breast beyond your inch. Whoa. As no matter to you. Let's leave free tuition policy into law. Go.
Mr. C.
Yeah.
You watch the chanting and
I was kind of like, mesmerized by that. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And before we get to that, there's a question I want to ask. At the time the SUP militants got brutalized, did you send out any communication of solidarity to them? I believe you saw the fateful or July 26th incident that happened.
Right. So generally, what you make of that whole protest and the brutalization of Comrade Adiola Christopher?
Thank you very much. And that question is in place. It's a very brilliant question. But on the issue of the infamous July 26 saga, we want to say here our institution from the angle of the revolutionary progressive student alliance of the University of Liberia. So at any point in time, whenever there are issues that border around the stability and peace of the society, anything that tends or anything that appears to undermine the democracy that people fought for, we will always frown on these negative actions. So our institution condemns the violent altercation of the violent outbreaks that occur between the two groups. We condemn that. We condemn the brutalization of the young guy who got brutalized from the Student Unification Party. But let me say something to you here. And it is important that we reflect, because you see, history is important, history is so unique. It is a mirror that reflects the past. It shows, it presents the present, and try to predict future occurrences. There was a time in this country when Prosa was still trying to be accepted and established on the campuses of the university. On one of the graduation exercises, precisely on the campus.
Let's get to the point of July 26th and brutalizing of Christopher. What's your take? Because I
have just said to you that in a very, very, very clear and resounding tune, we condemn the act of barbarity. Not only that young brother, but any Liberian citizen for that matter, any student leader in this country who will be brutalized in the country, we will condemn that. We condemn the issue of violence. We say the issue that the situation that erupted between the two groups, it was unnecessary. And these moving forward in our country, we should discourage attitudes of such.
Who or what you think was responsible for that?
Hey, you see, that's the reason why we say the society has become so gullible. When young people, you see, students, young people, you should not allow yourself to be used. If you want to take on any endeavor in this country, it should be on the basis of your conviction. It should be genuine. You should not allow people who have their own personal misfeeling or whosoever, whether it is individual from in government, if they have their issue with people in opposition, if people in opposition have issues with people in government, they should not use the young people of the country. They should not use the students of the university as conduit to express their hate, their misfeeling, and their acrimony. The students should not be used as vehicles to instigate instability and violence in this country.
And you say that's what happened in the issue of Soup. And you are saying that's what happened. I just want you to be brief. You are saying that was the case with Soup. Soup was used by somebody. Just get to the point quickly.
I'm saying to you, the two groups, the two student grouping, we saw the act because we followed the video. We saw the student from the initial, the Student Unification Party said that they were going to the American embassy to petition. Granted. So from the video, from what we saw, the Student Unification Party gathered at the American embassy. But if you gather at the American embassy and you gather students at the American embassy, it signifies something different. And there where we differ with our brothers. We told them over time, we said the issue.
So who you think is using Soup? It's obvious you might think the government is using the CDC COP, given the name, right? So who is using Soup?
So it is just clear. And let me say you Soup, like what the chairman said to you. There's an institution, there's the first institution on campus to carry the enrichment of the whole political party on campus. And he made the chairman of our institution struck a very important point. You see, the historical relevance or what necessitated the establishment of Soup, it has been compromised today. That's the reason why we say the Soup that you knew is not the Soup today. Because before, Soup had never collaborated with any political group to take on endeavor or struggle in this country. But to see Soup joining a political party from the opposition political party enrichment, these very people who do not merit the standard in society to condemn anything in our society. This institution, Soup was indicted by Henry Costa on his show, and he said that Soup received money for the June 7 protestation. All true.
You believe that?
In the country. You've been following student advocacy, you've been following student party. When was the last time Soup ever got involved into anything called GoFundMe? proud to the existence of the new generation that we are against, and we are saying that this is not the way forward. This is not the proceeding as student leader.
You call in your release, you call soup CPP soup. What? And now you are saying soup collaborated with or received money. What is your evidence that soup is collaborating with these opposition political parties?
It is clear, and it is just very, very, there are evidences to prove that the June 7 protests, it is a clear manifestation to prove that indeed soup has gone into bed with opposition political party. And that is not the evidence. Here is it. Soup talk on campus. Henry Poster, soup talk on campus at the time Abraham Darius Delon, soup talk on campus at the time Yeke Poluba. And these are not people, Yeke Poluba does not have any history of attending the university. They don't even talk about having, even understanding the issues of university students. You cannot take people, you know, people, I always ask the question whether soup is suffering from historical amnesia. Because people, these were people who were used by Chancellor in this country. When the issue was being given by Chancellor, he sent SOD soldiers, SOD on campus. During the time of Chancellor, when students were beaten, people were mutilated. Our mothers and sisters were raped on campus at the time. On campus, it was at the instruction of Chancellor and will be executed by people in Yeke Poluba. But for me to see the student unification party that say you frown on the brutalization of students on Chancellor, to carry somebody who was one of the executioners of a particular devilish act, then I think that the institution is suffering from historical amnesia. Probably they are forgotten.
Thank you. Let's now go to the issue of the militancy and how every young person now approach issue this same way, chanting, dancing, military style attires, and the rest of the 9 yards. What is going on here? What is this approach of militancy all about?
Let's start with the chairman. Militancy.
They are coming low.
Yeah.
You can hear us. We wanted to.
Yeah. Apparently they
can barely hear you.
Yeah. We're talking about militancy. Can you hear us? Prince, can you hear us?
Prince is muted.
Yeah, but he can hear.
Prince, it seems to be the device somebody was calling, and so it compromised the volume there, and they are not hearing us.
All right. We're going to take another short break, and we will be right back.
Whoa. No matter gay you 50% of salary when not long because again. Whoa. Tete breast beyond your inch. Whoa. As no matter to you. Let's leave free to some policy into law. Go. He go. They blind. I'm a bear. Mon now, meditate mon now. Mon now, fourth estate, mon now. Yeah, this party, not violent, you pass by force, nobody talking stone, we are using words, not bullets, we are using words, not bullets. Amanda Nick Africa away too. Amanda Nick Africa away too. Reactionary to the
Mr. President.
Reactionary to the
Mr. President, the senator is down to receive your petition.
All right, welcome back to Focus on Liberia, where we are discussing with the leaders of the Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia. And so since our back, we say, the internet issue will not stop us,
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's quickly talk about the militancy, then we talk about your protest, your recent protest, and then we take our calls. So quickly, the issue of militancy, we saw the chanting. Even some people are saying this is not even different from the war days, how people were chanting, singing, dancing, doing all that. Talk to me, Mr. Chairman, about this issue of militancy. You were comparing the advocacy of the 80s, the 70s. We didn't have that, but now is the case today.
Thank you, the CEO. And you see, for us, our understanding of militancy and the definition is of more being intellectual as compared to, the clear, denotative definition of militancy. And we get inspired by people like Morris Bishop. We get inspired by people, like the Sergeant Food, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We get inspired by people like Fidel Castro. We get inspired by people like Rahul. We get inspired by people like Winnie Mandela. We get inspired by people like Nixon, Goodluck Mandela. We get inspired by people who paved the way for young revolutionaries.
How about
the issue that has to do with militancy or understanding, you see, the issue of battle cry is a
Chairman, are you hearing us? Chairman, yeah. Can you also lead us Liberians that inspire you?
I'm saying, how about Bacchus Matthew? How about Tuan Ray? How about
lead us Liberians? Don't name them.
How about Kofi Woods? How about Anthony Kesseley?
Yeah, but these are people. The brother got a special message for them, so I don't want to group them in. Yeah, okay. The brother got a special message for them.
Sure.
But you see, militancy for us in our understanding, it is not on the basis of how far your stool can go and on the basis of arrogance, and on the basis of gangsterism. No, that is not our definition of militancy. It's just that we just get inspired and invigorates, the spirit of intellectualism in us, and it paves the way for seriousness. And that's the only time people take us to be serious, because you do not take a petition to the 54th National Legislature and then you go there in Kosu. You do not take a petition to the House of Legislature and then you go there in Johnny Design proposal. No. And more besides, as students of the University of Liberia.
Are you trying, let me interrupt you. Are you trying to intimidate them? Because you shy away from naming Liberians. Abba Port was writing. The Dante journalist Twanware was writing. And many other Liberians wrote. Amon Sawyer wrote. T. Potter wrote book. Bacchus Matthew was talking. They were not showing militancy. Why you are showing this one this time?
See, to add to the brilliant chairperson of our institutions. See, militancy is important, and it should not be misconstrued. It is important. You see, militancy gives us a sense of our belonging in the populous student struggle, in the populous people struggle in our country. I hear you make reference to the late Gabriel Bacchus Matthew, to Apropos, to Animle, and you named Emma Sawyer. These were people in their own time against the two-week party that challenged the one-party dominance, one-party system in our country. And when I listen to you talk about, they didn't show that Apropos had a different approach to the progressive struggle, to challenging the two-week party. That was the reason why Apropos was referred to as the pamphleteer. Because for him, he believed in the pen. Apropos was somebody who used the pen to challenge the decadence of the two-week party with the literature. Yeah. But people like Gabriel Bacchus Matthew, people like Amos Sawyer, these were people who were seen in the front, line. These are people who are on the front line chanting slogans against the two-week party, shaking and vibrating the tune of tyranny of the two-week party.
But without militancy, right? But without militancy.
I'm saying to you, people, give a Bible Matthew, they express militancy.
Okay.
Give a Bible Matthew, the Amos Sawyer, they express militancy. You just need to go back and reflect. You need to just reflect on history. As for you, Abraport, there are different ways. There are different ways that people will express their dissatisfaction to the system. Even in South Africa. And if we were to do an analysis,
yeah,
even in South Africa,
let's stay in Liberia.
No, I want to draw an analogy so that
I get it. What you are saying is time has changed, and so even the militancy of Gabriel Bacchus Matthew, your militancy take it a little step further because of the changing time. I get your point.
But even as the CEO, it depends your own definition of militancy. Because even during those days, you know, there were leaders in this country who were using more radical approaches to resolve issues compared to what we are doing today. Compared to what we are doing today, there were people that had arms in their hand in this country in terms of militancy. Unlike us that are using what you refer to as the pen, you know, using flyers, using leaflets, and maybe sometimes blocking road. That's all. So the issue of militancy is just to show to you how we are superlatively dissatisfied in trying to express our disgust to national stakeholders.
I got your point. Tell me, we want to move forward to your latest protest about the free tuition. Let me show you some pictures here. I mean, these are pictures from your protest here. I mean, you guys are, fearless, as you want to say it. Just tell us, what was the protest about, and why did you choose to take the approach that you took?
Yeah, and let us start with the comrade sister, please. I don't want you guys to dominate the sister here, you know.
I'm getting you both.
That's Sister Jennifer of the chair of the Women Presidium. Yeah. We want to talk about your latest protest. What was this protest about, and why did you take the kind of approach you took?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the issue of the free tuition was policy first day when the president on October 21st, 2019 pronounced the free tuition and WAS policy that gave rise to free tuition for all public universities and colleges in the Republic, and the issue of the 9th graders and 12th graders wide fees to be paid. We see it as a challenge that being thrown to the 54th National Legislature, because we believe that education in this country should not be politicized. We believe that it is our fundamental rights as a citizen in the Republic of Liberia to acquire tertiary, primary, secondary education as a citizen, because according to Article 6 of the Constitution of Liberia, it states that it is the responsibility of the government to give rise to citizen and free education. So against that backdrop, we from the angle of the African Party, we decided to challenge the 54th National Legislature. We challenge them. We say this policy should not be a regime policy. Insofar it was indicated by the President of the Republic, but we believe that it is the primary interest of all students in the Republic that is going to benefit from this policy. So we are calling on the National Legislature to be precise and the Liberian standard to additionally enact to legislate the free tuition policy, which seeks to promote, which seeks to give opportunity to the masses, the striking masses of our country. It seeks to provide opportunity for students to acquire tertiary education. It seeks to promote students who are from the schools and ghettos of our society to acquire tertiary education. It also provides both private and public high school students for the wire fees to be paid. So we are calling on the 54th National Legislature, the Liberian Senate, to concord and legislate this bill, because it is our primary interest. Education is very vital to the advancement of a society. When a society is educated, it will give rise to unemployment. When people are educated in your nation, the issue of unemployment, there will be most people who already have that education that will give back to the society. The issue of ignorance, because most of the people can say, if you think education is expensive, you should try ignorance. So we are saying when the masses people, when the masses, the people of Liberia, the done 20 masses of our country, when they are educated, the issue of ignorance, it will be mitigated. It means that people will give more knowledge how to give back to that society. So we are calling on the national legislature, we are calling on them. They should not play politics with the situation aspect. It means that our generation and the generation unborn will be able to benefit from this and policy when it's enacted into law. So this is why we are thinking it's not in our interest for all Liberian students who, it means that our brothers who are from Boko Jide, who parents do not afford to send them to private university, will not have access to public university that will acquire teachers. So we are calling on the 54th National Legislature and enact this bill, because that bill it will give rise to students to acquire primary tertiary education. So against this budget, and the reason we are calling the Liberian Senate to legislate this situation policy. So thank you.
Dennis, I think the comrade is strong.
So what is the update on this protest? How is it being received, and what is the feedback based on your protest? Anyone can take that up.
Come again?
Yeah, you can go.
So what's the update on your protest? What has been the feedback from the 54th legislature, and what are your next steps?
All right, so once again, let me appreciate the women president chairperson who adequately expatiated on this particular pre-inclusion bill. But you see, from the more broader perspective, we think it's important because we do not want this bill to be a regime, or this policy to be a regime policy. And this is why we, time immemorial, have been pressuring the 54th National Legislature to ensure that she makes this particular proclamation a law.
Right.
And then in following, it was already a bill. It was already a bill, and that was sponsored by the Bosserado County, Thomas Farah, and then it was forwarded to the Senate for what they refer to as a confirmation.
Concurrence,
you know. But then, since that bill had been over there, I mean, the guys from the level of the Senate have placed that bill in their cupboard, and they honor lock and key, and they have never given any attention. The only thing that they have interest in is to sign what they refer to as pension, bill that will give them the opportunity to get 50% of their current salary after they are retired. You know, they only have interest in signing, revising the Arsenal Meta deal that will also benefit them. But when it comes to issue that has to do with student and the youth community, they have been playing deaf ear to that. So this is the fourth time that we have petitioned the 54th National Legislature. And so thankfully yesterday, or day before yesterday, the petition was received by Yomli Kanga, who did promise to ensure that she placed this particular bill to the petition to the Senate for conversation to ensure that it can be further enacted into law. So we look forward, and we're not going to continuously protest. And this is why, like we said to them, that for us, we are student radicals, but we also give them the benefit of the doubt. In as much as they have come down to receive this petition, they were summoned by the president in the extraordinary session to come, and I think they should be going for a break anytime soon. But they now have the opportunity to better scrutinize this particular bill and then find the workable panacea to ensure that this bill goes down in history as one of the best bills ever to be, given credence, to be given attention of the 54th National Legislature, specifically the Liberian Senate, to ensure that this bill becomes a law, because we do not want it to be a routine thing. That after the presidency of George Weah, the next government that will come to power will say, oh, that was just on the basis of the benevolence of the president, and we do not have the financial willpower to continue this particular program. So on the basis of that, we now revert to status quo ante, where students will now start to pay their wise fee, start to pay tuition and fees. So we think this should be guaranteed by the Magna Carta of the Republic, the Constitution of the Republic, and also is also been highlighted by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on Article 26. And so, in as much as for us, our interest is not about where the government going to take resources from to continue to fund this particular initiative. In as much as they can grant $90,000 Eagles, in as much as they can go to America and say they are going on agriculture break, in as much as they have interest in receiving 30K, we think, they can find money to ensure that they sustain this particular, bill. And it's predicated upon that we have to petition them this one time to ensure that this bill, becomes a reality, and the shoulder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The burden of education will not only rest on the shoulder of our parents, but also on the shoulder of the government. And even the senators, because as they speak, sometimes you hear them say, they are giving out loan or giving out scholarship. I think it will relieve them now the burden to ensure that there will be no student in this country that will be running to law because they say, oh, school is about to open, you need to help me with my tuition and fees.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
it's very clear upon that. I would think this will be the first time in history, and it has never happened in any republic. We think Liberia should be the first republic that will be declaring what we refer to as free quality tertiary education at the level of all private universities and also the University of Liberia and extension to show that they pay what we refer to as the 9th grader and 12th grader batch fees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So if you are just joining us, please call the number to be part of the conversation, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And can you hear me? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? All right. Because we are going to draw down the curtains very soon. We're going to ask for your closing comments. So we want to give the opportunity for those who are watching us to call the number that is pinned on the broadcast and it's on the screen right now. That's 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And talking about the and again, I go back to analysis, right? Talking about free tuition, free WAS fees, and all the free stuff, right? What other ways do you think about it? Like, for instance, is it just that free? Or if you think about it deeply, how do you want this to be done? For instance, WAS. Do you think students really need to take WAS and pay this fee? Or, somebody should pay the fees, or they should just get rid of WAS completely? Then when it comes to the tertiary education, do you think there should be like a loan system where your tuition is paid, but when you graduate, you pay it back? What are some of the ways that you think this should be approached? Or you just say, let's go to school free?
Thank you very much. It's a very brilliant question. And the chairman plays it brilliantly. And you see, the protest on the 8th of September was well received by the public, the students of the Republic of Liberia, and the young people. And let me say here to you, the reason why we see this as a serious responsibility and a historical obligation is because the concept of a free tuition, and this is an important point that we should stress here, and to dispel that particular false notion that's in the public that this thing is a George Weah thing, and we should make that very clear here. The concept of a free tuition, it didn't come from the CDC government at that. It was the analysis of the suffering of the university students that were being promulgated by the avant-garde Progressive Student Alliance of the University of Liberia, the challenges that the students on the university campus are going through, that were presented to the president, that moved the president to issue that particular statement. And let me say here.
Thank you. Hold on one second. We have an overseas caller. So let me bring on that caller before you proceed. Because, there too, they are data issues. So caller, your name and where you calling from?
thank you. This is Willem Bro calling from France.
Oh, bienvenue.
Yeah, merci beaucoup.
D'accord.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
D'accord.
Yeah, it has been a long time, and today when I just try to follow the show, I'm hearing this interesting topic. Thank you guys for over the years for helping to at least give up at the strength of our democracy. Thank you guys, Focus Liberia. Okay, let me get to the issue. You see, I think these guys from the University of Liberia, I think you said Prosa, right?
Yeah, the Progressive Student Alliance.
Yeah, I think they are good. Yeah, I admire their advocacy. I think these are some of the advocacies that university students should get engaged with, because the essence of you going to school is to achieve education, and while achieving education, you also want to give chance for the next generation also to achieve education. So I think they are on the right track. Now, for the issue of the free tuition at all public universities and colleges, I don't think we should be thinking about where the money will come from. Matter of fact, as long over the past 4 years, this policy was implemented without any stickage, and students then graduating, they are put out about 3 to 4 graduates now under this policy, under this undergraduate policy. I think it should be a law, because practically a whole. They have been put into test a whole. So I think it should be a law. And I think that's how all the student-based political party on that campus, I think there's a trend that they should follow. And to be used by politicians using them all over the place. I want to say bravo to the guys there. And these are the kind of maturity that we need in our democracy, especially coming from the student community, most especially coming from Locks in Tanabri.
Thank you. Merci.
So I want to say thanks to all of them. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup, my friend.
Very amazing.
Let's get the second caller here, and that's Jimmy Eastman from the nation's capital. Jimmy, you're live.
Hey, Dennis, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Greetings to your guests in studio.
Not just greeting, but revolutionary greetings, please.
Revolutionary greetings. I'm also a product of Lucien Tenebris. During the struggles we went through the 1980 episode, so just to give you an idea of my history. Here, I believe too that university education should definitely be written into law as free. However, I do also believe that academic performance must be a criteria as well. We don't want to be sending people to school who are not making use of it. But here, one thing you mentioned in studio today is the militancy. The militancy mindset. We have to agree that militancy borders on violence. It's very near. And we need to self-reflect. Why are we embracing this mindset? If you remember our history, we had a lot of tribal wars. Is this predisposition that we have, that we always will use militancy to address our issues? Is there no other method that can properly address it? Because we've been through a 15-year war, and yet we still embrace militancy. I think it's something to consider, because we should be able to dialogue and use effectively our intellect, and not necessarily a borderline militant attitude. So I like the student body in there to address that. Do they think there's another method that will be effective?
Thank you. And thank you, Jimmy. And student leaders, before you respond, there's another question here from Derek Esoteric. He said, are the young comrades socialists, capitalists, or communists? So you have 2 callers and 1 question. Your response, please.
Yeah, so you can help us to reiterate to then help us give us the question of the caller, because we didn't hear the first guy who called.
Yeah, the first person called. The first person called from France. He didn't have a question, but he's saying, you guys are doing well, and this is the kind of student advocacy we should encourage. Since the free tuition was passed and it's been holding on, it is working. And so it's good that you advocate that it be passed into law. So we thank you. The second person called, the caller said, the whole idea of militancy is very close to violence. So militancy and violence are very close. Are there other ways you can go about doing this besides this militancy? And then the comment from Facebook say, are you guys socialist, capitalist, or communist? And let me put on the last caller now. That will be our last caller for the day. Last caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hello, my good people. This is Mr. Houston Brooks, calling from Honolulu, Hawaii. And hello?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. So for the Progressive Student Alliance, you see, this is my take. These students in Liberia are going under the hardship and the challenges they face for their education. Now, me, I have never been a student at the University of Liberia, but we see and we know the challenges they face in their day-to-day lives. So I'd like to say congratulations to them. The struggle is real. I listen to, they have a lot of energy. Like they have a lot of energy. But my point that I want to bring across this morning is the issue of militancy. I think if you go on social media like YouTube and Facebook, you see the history of the Liberian Civil War. That's exactly these battle cries. And I say the children growing up nowadays, the young adults, let me not use the word children, they are adults. That's all they know. That's what they see. And me personally, I don't think, not to say contrary to my brother Eastman, but as long as their cries, because in a sense they are fighting a war. It's not war with guns and bullets, but they are fighting a war with society, the government, to establish themselves. So as long as the militancy, the cries do not lead to violence, and I personally don't have any problem with it. But I call to encourage them, and I don't know if there's a way that we in the diaspora we can contribute to their movement. I will also ask them that they have other student bodies on campus, such as SUP. When these different students' body, I will encourage them to work together to, for a common goal. And I pray that they do not go against each other, because at the end of the day, they all have the same goal, achieving their education. So we stand behind them, and I give them moral encouragement.
Thank you, Houston. Thank you, Houston.
Thank you, my brother. All right.
Thank you. So the last caller is saying, encourage you, what you are doing is good, but encourage you to work together with other student groups like SUP, like STUDA, like SING. And what Jimmy Isbrook he was saying, he said, you should understand, and I'm putting this on the screen, you can read that militant mindset borders on violence. Does this attitude trace back to our tribal wars and our civil war? I believe we definitely need to self-reflect and reconsider our predisposition in order to change our predilection. And you say you can speak book. Jimmy read it too. So let me hear your response.
And so thank you. And let me appreciate all the callers and those who sent in their message, the text. And I was making an analysis on the issue of the free tuition. You see, the reason why we cherish this, and we don't want people to see this as an endeavor to benefit an individual or certain individual. We want to say, for a very long time in our country, I hear you talk about student loan and there should be a system set up. You see, the sad story about Liberia is the fact that this society is structured against change. And for the fact that over time we have given people the opportunity to serve in this country. And every time we give people the chance to serve, what we can see what is visible is the issue of people taking state resources for personal consumption. People going to leadership for their personal advertisement. And we have seen how the young people of this country, the students of the country, stand to benefit nothing. And they are the ones who are dictating to the electoral processes in this country. They are the ones who are influencing the political and democratic decisions in this country. The young people constitute significant portion of the percentage of our population. For what do the young people in this country stand to benefit? Look at their conditions. They are living in wretched conditions. But you have a society. A few days ago, you followed the issue of government officials that were being sanctioned here. A few days ago, you saw the lawmakers equally and cruelly distributing 30,000 amongst themselves. And it has become a culture now in the legislature where every time they distribute money that they cannot justify. So we are saying here, the question here should not be where we will take the money from. For the fact that lawmakers, who we know the condition that they live in this country. For the fact that lawmakers today can be riding cars that worth 99,000. Lawmakers cannot afford to ride first class. And they come back here and tell us that they shame their parents. But for us, we want to say here the issue of how the resources, the capital that will be used to fund this particular process, how it will be generated, we care less. Because if they were concerned about how the capital will be generated, they will not be looting and plundering state resources on the last year in this country. Look at the resources of the state. You have Beer Mountain. You know how many tons of gold. You know how many tons of gold leave the country every day. You know how many the lawmakers. And that's the reason why we'll continue to put their feet to the fire. Because by far, if you read the three branches of government, the legislative branch is the most powerful branch. Because this is the branch of government that has the authority to summon officials of the executive branch for questioning. This is the branch of authority that has the responsibility to deny a presidential appointee. This is the branch of government that has the responsibility to even impeach the president of the republic. But look at the legislature today. We have a legislature where you have spineless individual people who do not have the temerity to question and call the executive to order. So we will continue to put the legislative branch of government feet to the fire because they are our direct representative. That's the reason why we gather on the 8th of September to call upon them that this particular National Equity Act, we care less about the politics. You understand that they want to play politics about this particular bill. Who will benefit, who will not benefit. I think let me to be seen there as a
thank you. Will you also hold the feet of the executive branch to the fire?
Yes.
Looking at there's a graph. We've heard how the president building or duplexes, or 3 of his key officials have been sanctioned. What is your approach? What step are you taking to hold the executive feet to the fire as well?
We have, over time, since our establishment, there is one thing that we have always done, and we have dealt with the structural issues of corruption in society. We have dealt with the pitfalls in the system. And let me say here, Sheikh Bira was never wrong. He said, any man who trembles with indignation at injustice and corruption is a comer of mine. So for us, we know our conviction. So we are not going to sit here and say we will celebrate individuals getting involved into attitude or act of corruption. And that's the reason why I want to say to you, it is the responsibility of the legislature has that authority again to call on the president to take action. And we will also be calling on the president to ensure that this particular issue be followed, be investigated, and those who will be caught in the act should be held accountable for their action. And we are very clear about that, and we will say that without any fear and favor. So we are very clear. And on the issue of militancy in the approach.
No, thank you.
I want to say here,
we want to close. We want to close now because time is
very In closing. On the issue of militancy in the approach.
I will give you a chance to give your closing comment. I will give each of you 1 minute to give your closing comment. Thank you so much. We know we've kept you so long. We had technical issues from the start, and so you have been sitting there for over 3 hours now. So we see very much. So at this time, we want to draw down the curtains Thank you so much. We want to do this again. So let's take a 1 minute each to give us your closing comments.
And then I will add this to that in their closing. If you can hear me, you're being accused by some students that you are supporting the regime and that the regime is supporting you. We would like to get your clarity on that. And in closing, are you prepared to produce a representative to debate a member of SUP concerning your approaches on the issues at the University of Liberia?
You see, you made a very, very salient point, and that's the reason why, in conclusion, that's the reason why Tando and Normal we have been around to respond and try to dispel this particular propaganda, to dismantle this propaganda that has been distributed against our institution. You see, SUB has always used this particular tactics, this propaganda against institutions to neutralize their existence on campus. When STEM was founded, they said it was established by Samuel Khan Doe to go against SUB. When STUDA was established on campus, they said STUDA was established to go against, STUDA was established by Charles Taylor to go against SUB. Now, as an institution that got established in 2015, that been in line with its fundamental reason for which it was established and the revolutionary ethos and values for which it was established. Since 2015, that have been resisting issues that are against the student interest in this country. They now, in an attempt to neutralize our existence on campus, they want to use a propaganda that is so unkind. But we have the ability to dismantle propaganda. So whenever these propaganda surface, it is only absurd and hilarious for people to look at our institution, men and women who have survived on raw courage, to look at our institution and say we have been supported by government. It is a shame. Because if you look at the Student Unification Party, SUB has more individuals in government than any political party on campus. You can do your own cadastral, do your own survey. So let me say here, you ask a question on whether we have always thrown out this to the public. And for us, we have survived in the intellectual arena for years. We say it will be defeated in the arena of intellectualism, let it be on the basis of the exchange of ideas. And when people will defeat us, our face will be thrust to the air. And never will bow our heads down before anybody. So we accept this particular challenge. We accept that you can bring a representative from the Student Unification Party to debate our approaches on the way we see the student interest, to debate our philosophy, and debate where we stay in the popular student struggle. And we are prepared for that any day. Just listen to me here, and I inform you, I dealt with the issues in society, we dealt with corruption. We don't mince our words. We don't mince our words. We don't try to play to the feelings.
Thank you.
People feelings.
Thank you.
We speak the issue the way we see it.
Thank you.
So we care less about whether people say we been. You see, these are statements that have been parroted by people with backward opinions and backward views. But we have dealt with that all the time. We are always here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll now go to your closing statement each. And in our Liberian tradition, we say, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll start with the comrade sister for her 1 minute closing. And then we'll come to you. And then the chairman will be last, because when the chairman speaks, he's the most potent chairman. No one else speaks. So, comrade sister, your 1 minute closing, please.
Yeah, thank you. You asked a question. You said we are being accused that we are regime collaborators. Well, let me tell you, we are not for government and we are not against government. And also, we are not for opposition and we are not against opposition. The fact of the matter is that it's the fact that the interest of the students of the University of Liberia is the fact that the students of the Republic of Liberia, it is where we, the African Party, will come in. When the students of the University and the Republic have been challenged with issues confronting them, it is why we come in as a student. So I want to take this time to say thank you to the CEO of Focus on Liberia, and we hope that another time we'll have this privilege to come on your platform to discuss critical national issues as it relates to students that face with challenges on the campuses of the University of Liberia and students in the Republic. I want to say thank you to the most powerful men on the campuses of the University of Liberia, Dr. Halo Mark, for giving me this opportunity today to share my own views as it relates to our free tuition policy that needs to be enacted by the legislature to be legislated into law. So thank you.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, let me appreciate you for the platform, and I must appreciate all those who took their time to follow our conversation. You see, we are militants, and we are not going to feel ashamed, or we are not going to be apologetic for the way we characterize ourselves. That's the reason why we say militancy is not recklessness. As militants, we know our role, and we understand and try to interpret the suffering of our people in a way best suited, in line, and in the context with civil disobedience and nonviolence. So I just want to say to you here that we appreciate all the cadres, the militants, and staff of our institution, the full revolutionary bench for the opportunity. And if people think that we'll burn tire and throw stones in the country, that's the only way we'll convince them that we are against government, for us, is not our approach. And it is not in line and in keeping with the reason for which we are established. We will continue to be around to challenge the system, and we will do that fearlessly. But so insofar contradictions continue to exist in the state, the revolutionary avant-garde progressive alliance of the University of Liberia will always be around. So I appreciate you for the opportunity, and I appreciate the most powerful man on the campuses of the university for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now go to the most powerful man on the university campus, our revolutionary comrade. Mr. Chairman, your final thoughts, sir.
Well, thank you once more for providing us the platform to further expound our thoughts, with regards to the happenings within not only the state, but also in the corridors of student politics. And so I want to appreciate the two colleagues representing the party, and also want to salute the gallantry and resilience, tenacity of militants and cadres on the better wake and Kiabu of the avant-garde progressive alliance of the University of Liberia. So the callers, we want to appreciate you, and we intimated earlier on that we hope this will not be the first and last engagement. We look forward for more engagement, and to the challenge, we want to say to you that this is what we have postulated in our ideology, in our engagement with other political parties, that the debate on the university campus, when you differ with a student leader, it must be on the basis of ideas and precepts. It must not be on the basis of how far your student can go. No. That is not democracy. That is not student politics. So we are open to the challenge. We look for a bigger platform that you can invite the folks from the Student Education Party, you can invite the folks from the Student Integration Movement, you can invite the folks from the Student Democratic Alliance, and we are here always erected to ensure that we can, enter into any civilized conversation and write the necessary checkpoint, as long as there will be contradictions that will unveil themselves. So I want to say to you that in the course, in the struggle, in this particular debate, we remain uncompromised and we remain firm to ensure that on our feet will be the dead body of tyranny, as much as there will be, what we refer to as issues that will unveil themselves for debates. So again, we want to say to you, as we come to a conclusion for this conversation, we look forward for more interaction, and we want to salute you for giving us the platform.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. I have learned so much from all of you. And the first thing I learned is how you describe your party, avant-garde student progressive. So when you were talking, I tried to say, okay, let me see what it word means. So if you are like me who don't know it, here is the meaning: favoring or introducing experimental or unusual ideas. That's what it stands for. Am I correct? Because I'm trying to learn here. So if I'm correct, you gotta say Sao.
Sao.
Thank you so much, Mr. C. Also, thank you. We want to thank our men on the ground in Monrovia, that's Prince Momba and Theophilus Williams, for making this.
And CEO, I'm sorry, for us, our level of, what we get involved in terms of advocacy is not just restricted to student politics. So also, even the brothers that are on the ground here, we hope that you can provide them a better studio, with better equipment that will be able to, modernize this particular broadcast, and we can all be able to have a conducive atmosphere in expatiating and lamenting on critical national issues.
Amen. We pray that that time comes. But thank you so much. We really appreciate your time here. We will take leave of you now, and we're saying, right, 3 o'clock, we focus on Liberia. We'll have our business and economic forum. That's our FOL marketplace coming out at 3. And then at 7 p.m., we're going to have the Liberia History channel where we discuss history. We are now on the president. So today we're going to be discussing Joseph Jenkins Roberts. You don't want to miss it. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time or 11 p.m. local time in Monrovia. Until then, we end with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you are part of the Student Unification Party, the Student Integration Movement, or you are part of Student the Masses or Prosa, the avant-garde student alliance, we are all Liberians. And it is incumbent upon all of us to do whatever it takes to make our country the glorious land of liberty. My revolutionary salute, comrades.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss.
So good night, good day, and God bless.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people.